Well, good morning from the White Hart Hotel in Lewes in East Sussex, a very historic hotel. In fact, it is said to be the cradle of American democracy because this is the hotel where revolutionary Tom Paine formatted and thought through his rights of man philosophy, which suggested that A, the divine right of kings wasn't all that it should be, and B, that no man should be held in captivity, particularly those in the colonies in the Americas. And they listened to him and they rebelled. And as a consequence, the United States was born. That is the hotel here, the White Hart Hotel, a wonderful old hotel. And we will be broadcasting. First of all, we're broadcasting for the first hour in the Farmer's Bar because it's rather quiet at the moment. It's old, it's ancient, and it looks good, as you can see. What a wonderful picture behind me. We will, as the week progresses, start to add on our little bits and pieces once we understand the layout of this new site for us, and we'll be able to show you far more as the week wears on. For the moment, enjoy the back. I'm not going to disturb the camera by tossing this around, not just yet. Anyway, then at 9:30 we start our new the affairs from the heart. The matters that go on in any small town in the world or whatever. It's a potpourri. And what we hope is, and we're going to move then to the second bar, which is equally as ancient, and broadcast from there. That's when we will be opening our doors, as it were, to anybody who wanders by, who wants to say hello. And we look forward to that. We're not sure what's going to happen. Will we have a deluge of people this morning, or will we have no one? It doesn't really matter. We have kicked off, and thanks to Cliff and Sally Aries at the White Hart Hotel for letting us use the premises. We can't ask for a better atmosphere for historic Lewes, or for that matter, for at the time when there is a fight for democracy going on between the Western powers, if you like, although we're not supposed to say that. It's supposed to be Ukraine and the Federation of Russia. So that's where we are. That's where we're going to be. We shall take a short break at 9:30, and then we shall return with our new program. And it won't be that new this morning, but you'll get the general gist of things and who's who and where's where and why is why. So that is Mirador Television going into the summer, going into the rest of 2022, going into a brave new world. And let's hope that it is a brave new world. Right you are. Let us then take a look at what the weather is like in Lewes this morning, because it is a balmy 15 degrees. It's not going to dip any lower than 5. That can be chilly enough, but there's a nice gentle breeze to keep the heat down. People are variously outside wearing shorts and sweaters. It's difficult to say. I don't feel uncomfortable in this. And I got in here this morning early enough, and Sally greeted me with a nice cup of coffee. And I'm sitting here ready to join you, or have you join me, whichever, as we progress through the morning. So I hope that you'll find us. Mirador Television, on Mirador Television Lewes, Lewes Television Mirador, Mirador Television on YouTube, and on our own www.miradortelevision.com. So you can join us on any of those, and we will be, as the month ends, we'll have expanded to a number more outlets. That's it. That's what you're looking at this morning. So let's get on with the brutal part of the world before we start to sit back and enjoy this very fine hotel. And as we go through the morning, I shall just tell you a little bit about this hotel. First of all, it was built by Richard Verrill, who owned it from 1713. It was an important coaching house early in the 18th century, and the introduction of the railways in the mid-19th century saw it boom. Fifth son, William Verrill, succeeded Richard. He was Constable of Lewis in 1754. The house also once belonged to John Cresswell Pelham, a name that is bandied around in Lewis as well. There is the Pelham Arms and Pelham House, and Sir Thomas Pelham, who actually was a knight in the 100 Years' War, galloped off to Seaford on the coast here, about 7 miles away, with his merry band of knights, and saw off the French. Hero ever since, and is buried in the local St. Thomas's Church. The present owner of the White Hart is Cliff and Sally Ellis, who took over the White Hart in 1989, and it is lovely to be part of their team, as it were. And the lovely Jane, who has looked after us all week and who isn't here this week. We were going to be able to say hello and thank you to Jane, but instead we'll say hello, thank you to Sally for all the help that they've given us and the warmth that they've given us. Terrific staff here. And although the hotel basically now concentrates on bed and breakfast, it does light meals, the cakes and teas and so on. The bar that we're going to occupy opens up at about noon. And right here, there's a wonderful, wonderful range of esoteric people that come in and wander in throughout the morning. Whether any will wander in at this hour in the morning, I have no idea. That's where we are. We are in the White Hart Hotel in the center of Lewis. Right now, what's going on in the rest of the world? Well, the newspaper headlines is Foreign Spies Hack Number 10. And it looks as if 007 is on the go. 007, of course, is supposed to be fictitious. I can assure you he's not. I met the real 007 a few years ago. He's passed on now. I shouldn't say the real 007, the first 007. And his controller. And all I'm going to say is their name was John and Gus, not James and M. But nonetheless, they were very interesting characters and could tell a tale or two. Why did I start to tell you about 007? Oh, because it looks as if the spies have been at work and that number 10 has been hacked and that they're listening in to all our state secrets. Oh, goodness gracious me. Goodness gracious me. So the real spies are alive and well. And in fact, it is interesting that probably those people who have carried out the most aggressive spy and espionage and sabotage program are the Russians, who, of course, over the last 5 or 6 years have been responsible for poisoning a few people in Britain. So in this particular case, the reports so far suggest that it's the Middle East that are trying to listen to number 10. Why they want to listen to Boris, I have no idea, and not the Russians at all. And perhaps what has happened is we've been keeping an eye on the Russians, and they're loath to move too overtly, whereas we've taken our eye off the Middle East, I expect. Right, now, here's a nice cup of coffee that was provided to me by Sally. And if, in fact, you would like your name on this, it's not going to cost you very much. Do get in touch with us. We will be posting the address, the emails, and so on that you can get hold of. Actually, for $5 a day, you can have your name of your company on this cup and on any other cup, because we will be having guests, people in the studio, and as we go along, so your name can be put out there, as I say, for as little as $5 a day. And why not? It's as cheap an advertising as you'll get. It's prestigious, because this is a prestigious hotel. It is an old and ancient tradition, and there are many things that have happened in this hotel, not least of which is, in the bar below, the martyrs who were burned at the stake in the 1600s were held in the bar. Yes, you say, hang on, you said this hotel started in 1750, but it did that in as a coaching inn. Prior to that, it was an inn, and there were some very fine inns here, all owned by Lewis Priory, prior to it being pulled down in 1543, I think it was. So we really are in the midst of history this morning, in the midst of history, and do join us. Now, if you live in Lewis or if you're visiting Lewis, as of 9:30, you can wander through the front door, look in through to the left to the bar, and if you see us, come and at least wave to us. And if you, without being abusive, because people are abusive to me, and I don't blame them. If as long as you're not abusive, say hello, and we'll be able to have a little chat and find out what you think is going on. Anyway, foreign spies are hacking into number 10. And that's not the only trouble at number 10, because everybody now, for some reason, just on the very day that the Russians launch a massive attack on the Donbass area of Ukraine, is the bloody birthday cake or Christmas cake or whatever it was has re-emerged, with MPs saying Boris was very naughty and so on. Now, he was naughty in the sense that he lied to the House of Commons, and that normally is a resignation offence. But at the moment, we are in so many crises that it's to change horse in midstream seems to a lot of people not to make sense. And also, we have to worry about the fact that the COVID, that is an ongoing situation, and the present team, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, do have some experience of handling it. So, of course, Boris to go because of his birthday cake. Foreign spies in number 10. But generally speaking, in the Donbass area, a major Russian offensive has been launched. Now, where's Donbass, you may say? Well, it's in eastern Ukraine, and it just so happens that I worked in the Donbass region. I worked in a town called Lugansk, which was not my favorite holidays place, but nonetheless, it was an interesting place to live and to work for a period of time. And we got a very good feel for the people there. And if I may say so, it is my opinion, for what it's worth, that we actually fumbled the ball in Ukraine. And when I say we were part of the EU, so we were part of an EU initiative. But when the EU sacred cow coming out of Davos of privatization took place, nobody bothered to think what they were going to do with the thousands and thousands of steel workers, coal workers, and other miners who had been employed under the old Soviet Union. And there were thousands and thousands and thousands of them. Privatization meant that 2/3 of the workforce were cut back. And the initiatives were very limp, to say the least. Donbass, the Donbass area, has wonderful fruit because it's got that rich, fertile soil that gave us the Russian steppes, or the Soviet steppes, I should say, because in those days Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. No longer, it's an independent state. And it has wonderful fruit. And did anybody think to set up or look and investigate container traffic so that they could get it out? No. So this wonderful fruit was rotting on the ground, people being thrown out of work because of privatization. And what did we do? We decided to sow fields of flaxseed, which was the response to the crisis. Can you any wonder that the people in Ukraine are upset? And can you any wonder that Putin thought that he would have sympathetic ears? But you know, the fact is that the nations of Eastern Europe are fiercely proud. They're fiercely proud of their country, and they back it to the hilt. And that's exactly what Ukraine has done. You're not coming in here and taking us over, they say. So there we are. That's the situation as far as we're concerned with foreign spies. Is it? No, well, The Guardian. And they follow on with the same theme. Number 10 is suspected of being targeted by a Pegasus spy. Now, the Pegasus spyware is apparently, and watch out for this at home, Not that I think anybody would bother to tap my phone, but it's also, to all intents and purposes, is a very, very sophisticated phone tapping system, which can listen into your phone without you knowing, can actually answer rings, can even alter your greetings when you can't take the call. It is a very, very sophisticated piece of spyware, and somehow it was installed in number 10. And the suspicion is that it comes from those areas in the Gulf that may want to know what's going on in the rest of the world, and they think that we're an easy touch. The sun, it goes to totally different. It is actually Ronaldo grief as twin baby dies. And apparently the footballer Ronaldo has had some children, and one of them died. And here we are. We're delighted to see people walking through. Good morning. And so that's the only paper that bothers to go on a sporting theme, and even then, the sporting theme is the grief of the Ronaldo, the footballer. Now let's go to the Times, and this goes on to the next phase of the war in Ukraine. Zelensky has begun. He says the next phase has begun. The Russians have been amassing over the last little while troops on the border, ready to launch a full-scale attack. One would understand what a full-scale attack is going to be like if you've been watching the news recently, and some of the stuff that is unfortunately going on with rather a brutal war. But you know, the funny thing is that all wars are brutal. It depends on who's waging them as to how soft they appear. This one, because we are able to reflect what the Russians are doing, are showing the brutality of war. But you know, it is all like that, and it's the sort of thing that we would prefer, I think, not to have to put up with. So Zelensky is saying that the next phase of the war has begun, and that's according to the Times. The eye takes a rather, it stays with the war in Ukraine, but it takes the more humane viewpoint is that the little children and people are lined up hungry and without food, without shelter, and through a rain of bombs and shells. And it says that there is nowhere safe. Nowhere safe in Ukraine at the moment. And so we expect more what now many leaders of the world are considering to be genocide. In other words, wiping out your own race. And as a consequence of wiping out a race totally, because it doesn't stick well with you. I mean, many colonists have done that. If you like, we did it with the North American Indians. So that gives you some idea of what genocide is about. The Mirror is Johnson's walk of shame. Oh dear, dear, dear. Today, Boris Johnson has to go into the House of Commons and face MPs, and they're going to say, "Boris, you lied to us. Boris, you said you didn't have a party when you did have a party. Boris, your cake, your ice cake." The sticking point in my craw is, why are we getting excited about an ice cake when people are dying? I have no idea. But there we are. That's what some MPs are saying. That's what some critics are saying, and it's what reflected in the Daily Mirror. The Daily Express, which generally speaking is sympathetic to the government, is the Queen's dearest wish for Jubilee, and her dearest wish is now. Here's something else that's going to be very controversial. We're full of controversy this morning. The Queen, it reports, is planning to invite Harry and Meghan to share the balcony at Buckingham Palace along with other royals for her Jubilee celebrations. And I'm quite sure that the Queen, being the Queen, knows exactly what she's doing, and that in doing that she's bound to invite some controversy. She is determined, though, to have the family present because let's face it, this is the last Jubilee she's going to have. But also, she wants Prince Philip to be remembered. And after all, that was Harry's granddad. So that's her wish. And who shall say nay when the Queen says, this is what I want? Off with your head. One of the interesting things about the critics of media is that we're not independent. We're supposed to show all sides and then come to a view. Well, actually, that's what we do. But British media didn't start off in any independent way at all. It started off with Charles I, and in the 1600s, and many people would lobby to have the king either thrown out of power or to be deposed or whatever. And he would in turn try to catch their supporters. So the king's men would wander around the streets of London. The dissidents would draw up a pamphlet, the first newspapers, hammer them up on a wall, and probably said, out with the king, or let's get the king, or whatever the phrase was in those days, and then run like hell, because if they were caught, they were bound to have their heads chopped off. And that's where early journalism started. First of all, it was not biased, but secondly, it had got plenty of penalties to take it on. The metro, half-price rail fares. Well, there's another switch away. It says that to get the railways going again, and particularly with tourists, that what we're going to do is to have half-price rail fares throughout the Britain. And the fares right now are considered to be outrageous. I think it's is it the transport minister? Yes, Grant Shapps. Grant Shapps has said, hey, here, actually, it is outrageous and it's silly. I went to Cambridge recently, and it wasn't necessary that I went directly from Brighton to Cambridge. A one-way ticket was £142. What nonsense. If in fact I had broken my journey in London and then clambered onto another train for Cambridge, it would have come down to something like 40 some odd pounds, not 140 some odd pounds. And so those are the sort of anomalies and some of the prices that he says he's going to tackle. Right, the Daily Telegraph is stop home working for the civil service. The whole civil service has been told is nobody wants to go back to work. And as usual, as you can imagine, that the unions have decided, hey, hang on, our members have enjoyed being home during COVID. Why should they go back? But the fact of the matter is the civil service is in disarray. And so there's any great issue at the moment, it's the time in which it took us to get our visa system going, about twice as long as anywhere else in the world. And indeed is still not working properly. So the government has said, we can't have this, get back to work, you bods. And the civil service unions are saying, no, don't pay any attention. We'll let us negotiate this because we don't think that it's too bad you working from home. Look, it's nice to work from home. I've had to do it myself on many an occasion, but it don't work. There are too many distractions. And the other thing is, of course, is you're not talking face to face with your colleagues. So humanity starts to go out of it. The government is saying enough is enough. Come on, back to work. And civil servants are saying, nah. We're not going that. It's not the way that we should go. And it's going to be a big hassle. Right, so that's the Daily Telegraph that highlights that. The Financial Times is, yes, as does private equity buyer. There's a private equity group. Good morning.
Hi.
How are you this morning?
I'm okay.
That's very well. Here's Tony, our cameraman and mentor and so on, who's been poorly, unfortunately. But I hope that we'll see him back soon. Come and say hello, Tony. We're live from the White Hart. Here he is.
Hello, nice to see everybody.
Yeah, and let's hope we'll be seeing a lot of him too. Tony is a first-class guy. He's got first-class talents. In fact, he's all around very good. Unfortunately, the bug struck him. So if the NHS can get off its and look after it and get him back to us, we will be very grateful. As it is, you have to put up with me with some of this technical stuff at the moment. Tony, very good to see you. Thank you for bringing the camera.
Okay.
And we'll see you later in the day, or we'll see you later soon. Yeah, bye. Right, there we go. And that's what our new program style is all about. As people come in, they can say hello. There we go with the Financial Times, which basically has said that private equity groups, they're only interested in money. They're not interested in what they buy. They just look at something and say that'll make a lot of money. And apparently they were one of four, a group of four that bought Asda, and they've quadrupled their profits in a very short period of time. I can't see the length of time that it is. Let's see. They bought it last year, so the very most 12 months, and they're doing very well. Thank you very much indeed. The Star, my lovely Daily Star. Don't beam us up. Now this is a lovely story. This is a lovely, lovely story. Apparently, there have been some professors and academics who have been experimenting with letting the universe know that we exist. And there are others are saying, oh, hang on. You're making us vulnerable to attack from outer space. If people know we're here, they're going to start an interest and they're going to hammer us. They're going to come after us. So they're saying, don't beam us up. Stop it. Stop telling the universe that we're here, because otherwise we're going to be in trouble. And who can say nay? But if in fact you see a little green man, or if you see a disc flying around, then be careful, because it may not be that friendly. It may be here to take us over. So good for the Star. They always go on a different thing. As you can see in the background, there's a little bit of activity now. The hotel is beginning to waken up. Sally did light the fire earlier, and it's been very nice sitting by it. It's a bit smoldering in its grave at the moment, but the hotel, like the town, starts to waken about this time. The delivery men are outside. The High Street is beginning to bubble to life. The coffee shops are opening up. Lewis is a very typical small English town, and is beginning to display those, what was the characteristics of a small English town. Now let's see if the Star was the last one. So watch out. Do not shout into space, you are welcome, because those little green men may well decide they don't like you and zap you. And that's no way to end a bank holiday, being zapped by little green men. So we run the gamut this morning from a very, very serious war on the face of the ground, a serious challenge to our Prime Minister for lying to Parliament, a very serious look at the royal family, whether the Queen should invite Harry back onto the balcony for her Jubilee celebrations. And there is how to make a lot of money, if you've got money, by buying into the supermarkets. A bit busy morning, yes it is. So let's take let's just gather breath, and as I often like to do, just take a little trip, just not too far from here, into the Grange Park, which is just a wonderful, wonderful retreat. Let's enjoy it for a moment. Now, that garden, that park, is not very far from here. It's set in the grounds of Southover Grange, a mansion house built around the middle of the 1500s after the priory, which was there for 500 years before that, was pulled down by Thomas Cromwell on behalf of Henry VIII. And they've used stone, some very fine stone from the monastery to build it, and it stands there to this day. It's got a wonderful park. It is underutilized as a resort, unfortunately, but it is very ancient. And Thomas Cromwell was a very controversial character. He curried favor with the king, and that was why he was given the role of the dissolution or handling the dissolution of the monasteries. In other words, locking down those monasteries that wouldn't come to heel and taking the loot from those that did. And he then went on to do all sorts of things as a crony to the king, including picking Anne of Cleves as a queen for Charles, for Henry, who, upon seeing her, proclaimed, "I cannot go to bed with this woman, she is far too plain." So Thomas was not in the good books. Now, Anne survived. She is the queen that survived, and she was divorced. And the house that we have here in Lewes is part of her divorce settlement. And poor old Thomas, he lusted after this house. He wanted it very badly, and in fact almost got his hands on it. But then, because of his mistake with Anne in picking a wife for the queen, was summarily executed. And it was said that the axeman took 3 swipes at trying to get his head off. And in those days, there wasn't a fine art. No. Nobody actually wanted to be the executioner. It was considered distasteful. But nonetheless, people did do it for money. And quite often what would happen is that they would use some of that money to get drunk before they actually wielded the axe. And in this particular case, it affected the axeman's judgment, and he kept missing Thomas's head and severing part of the neck. So poor old Thomas died in a very unsavory and painful death for some of the naughty things that he did, both to the priory here and to Southover and to the king. Oh dear me, we mustn't forget that. But that is Southover Grange, and it's a lovely part of the country or a lovely part of the town to go and visit. And I would urge you to do so if you're visiting. And if you're a resident of Lewes, then I would urge you to go down. It's my favorite spot to hide. There is within it something called a Knott's Garden. And the Knott's Garden is a symmetrical garden. It's a beautiful place. And it's a place that you can get away from, first of all, the wind, but secondly, from the noise of people around you, and you can sit and do some work. So it works very well in terms of a leisure center, but also as a center of history, because the Newtons who lived there were firm Roundheads. They were firm Cromwellians. They were firm Protestants. And because Lewes in those days was a very important center, Eastbourne and Brighton did not exist. Chichester was the next big town. Is that there was always a challenge to get hold of Lewes as the center of any sort of strategy. And the Royalists desperately wanted Lewes so that they could regain control of the southeast. So they set out with a force from not Chichester, I think. It was from a little bit further along the coast. And they set out to take Lewes. And along the way, they were accosted by a group of Roundheads led by one of the gentry in Lewes, who waylaid them and took them on, and the Battle of Hayward's Heath. Now, most people think that Hayward's Heath is just a rail stop, but in fact, it was an important site, the Battle of Muster Green, which is just literally about 5 yards outside present day Hayward's Heath. It was just a little bit further out in those days. Now it is integrated into the town. So the Battle of Hayward's Heath, or Muster Green, took place. The Roundheads were victorious. The Cromwellians won the day. The Royalists were sent packing, and Lewis was saved. If it hadn't been for that force from Lewis intercepting it, the town would have been taken by the Royalists, and history would have been changed. As it is, the status quo remained, and we all know how the Civil War ended with the king being deposed. But anyway, we just looked at the gardens there, and they are there to this day. You're very welcome to actually go and see them. Right, okay. Well, where are we with time? Well, we are coming up to 8:07, in fact, 9:07. I'm so used to doing this very early in the morning. We're coming up to 9:07. And the weather outside is a balmy 15 degrees. It's a light breeze. The chance of rain is very, very slim. So a nice day. Watch that breeze, though, because if you wear a hat like this, even a slight breeze can send it barreling down the street. And in a very undignified manner, I had to chase my hat the other day. That's what it's like out in the streets of Lewis. Very, very nice day. In fact, looking out through the hotel windows now, and there is some activity at the courthouse. I would imagine that the courts are sitting, and it's a very heavy day. They, like everybody else, are coming back after hiatus for Easter. The buses are passing. The hive of, not a hive of activity, but a good steady growth. And some of it is now spilling over into the hotel. So you see people going behind. That's what it's all about. And if any of them lean over and say good morning or hello, they are very welcome, and you're very welcome too. If you want to come down and confront us or chat to us or take part, please come on down. It's a lovely, lovely hotel. It's a bit early to say come for a drink, but certainly you can get coffee and you can get cakes. And there is normally a brigade in the bar that where we're sitting in, which is known as the Farmer's Bar. And although it's a lounge at the moment, you can get a drink in here. But at one time, it was the bar where farmers actually met, and they were the wealthy people in this town. So we very much anticipate that there will be farmers, but the bar will, or the coffee room or lounge, or whatever you want to call it, will fill up. And we are actually decamping from here at the end of this broadcast to the main bar, well, yes, to the cocktail bar, where people don't come in until 11:30, which gives us a clear run to broadcast to you. So from the hotel, the White Hart Hotel in Lewis, we are able to say that we are in the heart of American democracy. As we talk to, we actually, fair enough, we do have thousands of people who watch us. Shall I think what we might do is take a little look at one or two photographs of Lewis from Susan Harris, who takes snaps early in the morning. She's preparing some new ones for us, but she's a good photographer, but she's daring and she gets up very early in the morning. So let's see if I can find them. No, I can't. How pity. But what the heck? Oh, here's a promo, and I think it's to do with Christmas a bit, but nonetheless, it does show you a bit more of the town. there's no reason why we can't wish you a happy new year if we haven't seen you. There's some nice scenes there from Lewis. But I started to say that the White Hart was a favorite of Thomas Paine. Strangely enough, many Americans can't understand why Tom Paine isn't on the lips of every Louisian, for that matter, every Brit. He's considered so important to American democracy. And right here, the Battle of Lewis of 1264 was the start of English democracy. And we tend to ignore that a wee bit. And to be quite honest with you, I think it's rather a pity that we ignore it. And the reason being is democracy is under threat at the moment. It's under threat from the invasion of Russia on Ukraine, but it's also under threat because we are in the throes of a government that is a bit casual about its responsibilities and its legal obligations. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter whether you agree or you don't. Rule of law is that you follow law, and if the law says you do one thing, you do it. So while I witter on and say, why are we worrying about the iced cake that is getting Boris into trouble this week, which he had at Christmas, it is still an important issue as to whether rule of law is considered to be important. So very important indeed that we pay attention to that. So keep your eye on the news today and tomorrow for two reasons. One, the invasion of a hostile force, if you like, into a sovereign state, Ukraine, and the invasion of Boris Johnson into the House of Commons to explain why he was a naughty boy and why people should accept and let him get on with it. Nonetheless, that is the White Hart Hotel, and at the end of the 18th century, Tom Paine formed something called the Headstrong Club around 1768. And they met in the panel room, which is still excellent upstairs in the hotel, the sheriff's room. And the sheriff had two Tudor rooms, and they used to meet there. And apparently the leader of the Headstrong Club, or the man who had the floor, was the man who had an ancient book in front of him. And Tom Paine was known for leaping onto the table and grabbing the book so that he could expound his rights of man. And he was a bore when it came to that. If you were anywhere near him, he wanted to tell you all about the rights of man. This is Tom Paine, a famous American revolutionary, who was held actually by Robespierre in prison in France during the French Revolution as well. He was some pup. He moved from revolution to revolution, and very high profile he was too. He was almost executed in France. The jailer made a mistake where he chalked the cross that would have sent him to the guillotine. Now, the High Sheriff of Sussex entertained his friends here in 1763, and still does in this present day. So there's a tradition, once again, in the hotel, the sheriff's room. In fact, you can't move in this hotel without tradition. There is so much of it. You seep it. And we have a young student, Max, who is a terrific guy, and he came in and he was overwhelmed with the age and tradition of this hotel, and I'm sure you will be too. Now, let's go back to the news for a moment or two, because the main headlines are that Ukraine is invaded and is getting ready to do a mass invasion of Ukraine. That Boris Johnson is getting ready to walk into the House of Commons and throw his mercy on their soul. And also there is a big spy scandal in number 10, where it's discovered that some phone software has been tampered with, so spies have been listening in. Nobody is being quite specific, but so far the spies that are being targeted are Middle East states who apparently need to know, perhaps to do with oil prices. Who knows what's going on in number 10. So that's the hotel that we're broadcasting from and going to be. and we're opening our doors and their doors to anybody who wants to drop by and have a little chat. The main program starts at 9:30. This is a warm-up just to get you into the mood, but also to let you know what's going on in the world. And it is 9:17 in the morning. So it said 15 degrees outside, rather balmy and rather nice. This town, this lovely old town, which goes back to Saxon times, is beginning to burst into life. You can hear the murmur of people talking behind us as the business of the hotel gets cracking. Sally, the owner, has been here since breakfast time, making sure that everything is steered properly, and so we're on the go. All right, let's just go back once again. My favorite, I have to say, my favorite story of the morning is that the space experts, have said to us, stop broadcasting into space, stop trying to make contact with other worlds, because it looks as if there are some out there that might be a bit hostile, and that if they know we're here, they're going to come looking for us. So do be careful. If you see a little green man, careful what you say, steady as you go. Right? Perhaps one of the more disturbing stories is the Financial Times, which points out that the rich get rich very quick, and probably by somebody else's misjudgment or mismanagement. But one equity investor invested in Asda, the supermarket, last year, and has quadrupled the profits. And don't get excited because those profits don't go back into the business to lower prices or make a service better or whatever. They go into the equity holder's pocket. He decides what he's going to do with them. All right. Now, it is time for my little rant. I just wonder whether, in fact, right, we've got Sean Ilias. Good morning, Keith. Sean is a particularly interesting young man about town. He gets everywhere. He deliberately sets out to meet various people and has become pals with the great and the good. But also, he quite rightly believes that this helps his education and his knowledge by talking to the people at the center. Sean, delighted that you're with us this morning, and we look forward to having you with us as we move through the summer. And we broadcast from this lovely old historic hotel. Right, okay. I was going to go through the headlines again. So mainly, the headlines are that Boris Johnson faces the House of Commons. The Russians are amassing and have started, according to Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, have started their assault on the Lugansk region, the Donbass region of Ukraine, and that this time that they focused on it and that they really are going to give it a pounding, as if they haven't already. The third is that I'll have to remind myself what the third is. Half-price rail fares are on the way. Harry is going to be welcomed back into the royal fold for the Jubilee. And I'm happy to say that we have got a relative calm here amidst all the huge uproar, and that the town, I'm looking out of the window of the White Hart Hotel, so we're going to move in about, probably, we'll probably cut this off at about 9:25, and at 9:30 we will be back from the bar in the White Hart, where you can, if you wish, join us, and we look forward to having you. And here we have people walking about the hotel, starting to bring it to life. When I was here this morning, there was nobody but myself and Sally behind the bar, behind the desk, ready to welcome people. and now it's beginning to burst to life. And you'll be amazed at the people that actually come in through this front door. And we hope that they will stick their nose in as they come. And you are invited to stick your nose in this morning. Come and look for us in the White Hart and have a little chat, a little nosy around, make a few suggestions if you wish. But here we are, ready to greet you and to involve you in Lewis's morning television program. Now, I'm just going to, my mouth starts to dry out, not only because I'm a talker, but I've got a touch of Parkinson's. If you are inclined to let people know who you are, and you would like your name on this cup, so that you can see the name of your company, or if you've got an ego yourself, if you wanted to buy it, it only costs $5 a day at the moment. As we get into heavy traffic in the future, it's going to cost a hell of a lot more. For the moment, you can get it for a $5 a day, and it gets seen a dozen or so times as the coffee goes down our gullet, not only by us but by our guests. And we are expecting a number of guests coming through the hotel, and we will be inviting guests. We decided this morning that we would just take it easy on the first morning, because who knows what sort of problems we're going to hit. We don't know, because we're in strange territory, and it doesn't matter all the preparation in the world, you can find that things go wrong. But we are here, and so far, touch wood, it's all been okay. So we are ready to take you into this is the Farmer's Bar, the old Farmer's Bar. We're ready to take you into the main bar at 9:30. So we will. It's 9:24. We're going to pack up now, or end this part of the program, and then we will be back with the affairs from the heart. What's going on in town and around the world from the White Hart Hotel. Okay, let's say toodle pip, and I'll see you in a few minutes. I'm Keith Hayes. This is Mirador Television, and if you're looking gobsmacked, well, join us on a daily basis, because it can only get better, as they say. I just make sure that yes, it's Sean who is with us this morning, and we hope that many of you will actually tune in and have something to say about it. All right, let's say ta-ra, shall we, for the moment? And this is who we are, Mirador Television, broadcasting live from Lewis's White Hart Hotel.